Hi, this is an introduction to spreadsheets and scatterplots, and it's for my Year 10 maths class, who I'm assuming haven't done much on spreadsheets before. First thing we're going to do is have a look at the history of spreadsheets and how they came into being. Well, the first thing is that originally spreadsheets were in the form of rocks or clay tablets, and they were used by the ancients to just record information, but mainly information about possessions and what they owned. The next thing that they progressed to were books and paper, and you can see that this is recording information in the form of text and also in numbers, and the columns are really used to make calculations. Probably one of the most famous examples of a person using a spreadsheet is in Charles Dickens' story A Christmas Carol. There was a man by the name of Ebenezer Scrooge who was a miser, and he was a bookkeeper, and one of the most enduring images of him is him hunched over a book recording his financial matters, and that was a case of bookkeeping using a prior version of a modern spreadsheet. So we're going to have a look at an example of how a spreadsheet's used today, a really simple one, and here it is here. Someone has just put together this really simple budget, and they've recorded text over here and they've recorded numbers over here, and they've got various amounts and they've summed all those numbers at the bottom. Now that's a really simple example of a spreadsheet, and we're going to do some more work on that in a minute. There are three main things I want you to know about spreadsheets. The first thing is that they're used to record data, and you can record text and numbers. They're also used to analyze data by using mathematical formulae, and this is where they're really powerful because the computer can do a lot of the hack work of mathematical applications, and it's really powerful. The other thing that spreadsheets can do is they can easily use that data and create really snappy looking graphs. So let's have a look at some of the basics. Well, this is a spreadsheet, and it's an Excel spreadsheet. They all look similar, and the reason they look similar is across the top here they have letters A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, and those letters, they go on for a long way. You can go for hundreds of columns. And also what they do is we've got rows here, and these rows go for a long way as well. In fact, if I zoom out, you'll see that this is just a huge blank piece of screen with lots of columns and lots of rows. Now all these rows and columns make up these little rectangles which we call cells, and cells are labelled by the letter first followed by the number in the vertical axis there. So this cell is called C6, and if you're ever not sure, they even tell you what it is over here, C6. And this cell here, well, E8, and there it is displayed over there. Now we can put two lots of information in here that I'm going to put in, two lots of data I should say. The first lot of data is I'm going to put in some text, so I just click on the box and I type in what I want. My age is, let's say, 45. And there's some text put in there. Now that's not true, that's not my age, we all know that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm just going to say, well, actually my age is not 45. And what I'm going to do, instead of putting a number in that text box, I'm going to put a number in the cell next to it. So I'm going to say my age is, say, 43. That's more like it. Now when I say my age is 43, this tells me that's just a number in there. That's one form of data, and this is another form of data, and the computer can recognize text and number. Where it gets confused is where you put text and number together, so we need to be careful about that. So we're going to do four basic mathematical operations with this number here and another number. I'm going to choose the number, I'll just say 5. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 43 and 5 together. Now I can choose any cell to do that calculation that I want, any cell whatsoever apart from the cells I've already used. So I'm going to use this cell under here. Now to put in a formula, we need to tell the computer that's what we're going to do, and to do that we put in an equal sign. That tells the computer we are going to use a formula. Now I wanted to multiply 43 and 5. So that's actually cell E10, and so I'm going to write down E10, and I want to multiply that, and I use the asterisk button on the computer by, and I want to do it by cell E12. E12. Now notice both cells get highlighted and they come up at the top here as well. Now once I press enter, we should get an answer, 215. Well, that's great. Now let's do another calculation. Let's do a sum. So I'm going to sum 43 and 5. So I put in here equals. Now this time, instead of typing in E10, I'm just going to click on it. I can do that. E10 plus this cell here, which is E12, and hit enter. Now that's just added them together. Another neat thing I'm going to show you is if I change the value of this cell, it will automatically update these formula solutions right here. So let's say I change that from 5, let's say I make it 0. And we know that 43 times 0 is 0, and 43 plus 0 is 43. So 215 should become 0, and 48 should become 43. Let's see if it happens. That's exactly what's happened. I'll change it again too. Let's make it 2. Enter. And it changes it again. This time I'm going to do another calculation. I'm going to do division. So I'm going to do equals, cell 43, divided, now I use the slash symbol on the keyboard, divided by 2, and hit enter, comes out. Last one will be subtraction. So let's see, this time I'm going to say equals cell E12 minus cell E43, negative 41, which is what we would expect. And that's an example of some really basic operations of a spreadsheet. It does much more than that, but now we're going to have a look at an example of scatter plots. So bear with me. Alright, here's a question. It says search the internet for instructions on how to insert a trend line on an Excel spreadsheet. Use the instructions to create a scatter plot and answer the questions below. Okay, well we have a table here, X values and Y values, and we've got to construct a scatter plot for the data, and we have to find the equation of the least squares regression line. We have to sketch the graph of the regression line onto the scatter plot, and we have to find these values based on that least squares regression line. Sounds complicated, but this computer and this software will do it easily. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put this table into the spreadsheet. So I'm going to put X up here and Y here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the first value of X, which is 1, and the first value of Y, which is 1.8. Now what we're going to do, use the power of video to complete that very quickly. Now to construct a scatter plot, all we do is we highlight those cells. Then we go up to Insert, and we choose one of the charts that we want. Now we want a scatter plot, and this one looks like a scatter plot, so that's what we're going to use. So we click on that, and lo and behold, it comes up. Bang! There, we've done it. Now I'm just going to move that whole chart down here so I can still see the question. And there's my scatter plot. Looks pretty impressive. Now it says find the equation of the least squares regression line. Well, this computer will do that so easily. We just right click on one of the data points, and it says add trend line, and that trend line is a least squares regression line. So we click on it, and there it appears here, and we have a look at this over here, and it shows me that it's a linear equation, which is what I wanted. Now the other thing I want to do, it's already sketched it onto the scatter plot, so the other thing I want to do is I want to display the equation of that line on the chart. So I can do that by just clicking there, and there it appears there. Let me get rid of this, and here's our equation. Y equals minus 0.1262x plus 1.9862. Well, that's just the equation of a straight line, and that's what it is. It's a straight line. Now it says using this formula find the values of y when x equals 4.5. Well, let's use this formula here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this formula, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to paste it just in there. So I'm pasting it there, and there it is there. Now, it's turned up here, which is where we want it, and it looks pretty good. The only thing is that this equal sign, we don't want a space there, so let's get rid of it. Okay, the other thing is we don't have a value for x here, so I could put in here times, and I have to use my asterisk button, times 4.5. Now when I do that, the answer, and I hit enter, the answer comes up like that, which is nice, but we can even do better than that. Let's put 4.5 here. And then let's say, instead of putting 4.5 here, let's multiply this value here by whatever's in that cell there. So I click on that cell there, and it should still be the same answer because I put 4.5 in there. And let's see what happens. And it is. Now that saves us rewriting the formula every time. So all I've got to do is change this value here, and I'll get a new answer. So I'm going to change that to 15, which is the next part of the question. Answer comes up. 0.0932. Well, I can choose any value here. I could choose 234, enter, the answer comes up there. So that's a little introduction into scatter plots and spreadsheets. I hope you enjoy that. Thank you.